Imagine a world where distance is irrelevant. The laws of physics are yours to rewrite, and opportunities abound for business, leisure, and everything in between. That is the promise of the metaverse, combining physical and virtual worlds through the power of extended reality tech. But what is it? Is the hype justified? And can it eventually reach its potential?
So, when talk of metaverse first properly arrived, there was a huge amount of interest, but often a sense of confusion as to what the metaverse actually is. This lack of understanding and no real results that live up to the hype mean that much of the interest has moved on to ChatGPT and the AI's tipping point. To recapture attention and build momentum, there is still a need to demystify the metaverse and for real-world use cases to emerge. And travel could play a key role here, as there are numerous use cases that could improve the entire travel experience.
The metaverse can be thought of as an endless digital space accessible through technologies such as virtual reality, augmented reality, or even holograms. Essentially, it is a 3D immersive version of the internet. For example, just like you can meet with your colleagues or families now in a video call, in a metaverse setting, you could have the effect of actually sitting in a meeting room with them. Instead of looking at many tiles on a screen, you could have a similar experience to being in the same space. Depending on the share of the digital economy that moves over to the metaverse, the market opportunities are valued at trillions of dollars.
While much of the general interest in metaverse has faded and moved on to topics like the rise of AI, this doesn't mean that metaverse is dead. While it still needs some time to properly arrive, the fully realized metaverse will be useful for consumers, for businesses, and also for industry users. And we see this taking place across three main areas. The first area is elevation, with experiences such as 3D hotel tours, 3D cabin views, or in-flight VR. Then there's virtualization, including training pilot, crew, and operations with, for example, Lufthansa aviation training, which is already a standard in the aviation industry. And then there's replication, mainly through the use of digital twins.
The metaverse may also substitute some of the travel performed for business purposes. Business travel is returning faster than anticipated, partially due to an abundance of new working models. These new models are also blurring the lines between the classic business or leisure reasons for traveling.
We call this concept blurred travel, and we see it playing out in 5 main formats. So there's staycations and digital nomadism that are already familiar topics. Leisure is also something we had seen before the pandemic, so adding some personal time to the end of a trip to a conference, for example. Then there's workations and company offsites that are increasingly important means for remote teams to make in-person connections. And that's why, for example, Lufthansa Innovation Hub developed Clupio, which makes it easy to plan and book offsites for hybrid and remote teams. And this is just one example of the emerging platforms and services specifically designed for the blurred traveler.
In some cases, virtual meetings can't yet replicate the sincere connection formed in a face-to-face setting, which could be why we are now seeing growing levels of optimism around business travel. The rise of blurred travel and the arrival of the metaverse will be 2 major forces shaping business travel in the coming years.
While the travel industry's adoption of the metaverse is still in its early stages, the technology's potential to transform the industry is extremely exciting.